It's just wild to see. And if it wasn't for Twitter, I don't think we would know about all this stuff. I think it would be very difficult for you. I think YouTube throttled. They did something weird. They won't say what they did, but they did something weird with the Trump interview that I did.
Yeah,
where you couldn't find it.
It doesn't make sense.
It made no sense.
I mean, it was like the biggest interview on earth.
Yeah,
and you can't find it.
Yeah. Not only that, it wasn't trending.
Bull.
It wasn't trending.
It wasn't ending.
It wasn't trending.
Like, there's just no excuse for that, man.
No excuse.
There's no excuse.
It was getting 1 million views. What was it? 1.4 an hour at one point in time. 1.5 an hour.
Yeah.
And it wasn't trending.
Yeah. Like, and it's like your channel is a known channel. It's not like it was started yesterday. It's like, this is a high trust. Yours is a high trust channel. It's like you're not trying to sell scam crypto coins. So
well, thank God we put it on X as well.
Yeah.
Because I think just with your account and my account alone, it's 70 million views.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can't hide things anymore because of you. And if it wasn't for you, I think they would have had total control of social media by now.
Yeah,
they would have banned so many accounts during the pandemic, so many dissenting scientists and doctors and physicians. They banned so many conspiracy theorists, so many people that colored outside the lines. They would have done that everywhere, and it probably would have. I think even at what's going on at Facebook, they're being more lenient. You know, you hear Zuckerberg talking about taking a more libertarian stance. That's entirely reaction to the way Twitter has kind of moved the watermark.
Exactly. As soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually have the truth debated on their platform, it forces the other platforms to allow things to be more truthful, to not censor. Because their censorship becomes glaringly obvious.
Yes. Yes.
And the best thing I found as a rebuttal, like if there's a hoax, is just go to the source material. If somebody thinks Trump said that we should put Liz Cheney in a firing squad, I'm like, let me send you a link to X so you can watch his video. That's the best way.
Yes.
Don't take my opinion for it. Don't take anyone's opinion for it. Go to the source material.
And community notes.
Yes, and community notes
Community notes
awesome.
is the best.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets checked.
Yes, including me.
Yeah.
And with community notes, all the software is open source and all the data is open source. So you can recreate any given note independently.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Total, absolute transparency in every way. Sometimes I get asked, can you remove a note? Mostly by the left, but sometimes by the right. I'm like, I don't even remove notes on my own account. Nothing. And by the way, everything is totally open. So if I did that, it would stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like, it's not going to be subtle.
That is the best counter to misinformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Let everybody look at it and say, okay, here's what the actual facts say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The counter to misinformation is better information.
Not just that, but having it checked in real time by the community. So you have millions of people that can go over it and debate whether or not this is true or that's true.
Yes, and like I said, like the best way to understand the truth of things is don't take anyone's opinion for it. Look at the source material. So look at what someone actually said, look at what someone actually did, look at the real videos of the situation, and then you'll know what's real. Especially on the Democrat side, they've been repeatedly saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle. And they're claiming, the First Amendment is enabling disinformation, misinformation. And I'm like, there's a reason for the First Amendment. Freedom of speech, the reason the founders of the country put the freedom of speech there is because they came from countries where if you spoke your mind, you would get shot or imprisoned. That's why the First Amendment exists. And the Second Amendment is there to stop the tyranny of government. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there to protect freedom of speech. And I've had these debates, especially with people in LA, because they're like, want to take everyone's guns away. And I'm like, can you guarantee me that that we will never have a tyrannical government in the United States? Can you make that guarantee? They're like, well, nobody can make that guarantee. I'm like, then we need to keep our guns. Because that's what's going to stop it.
That sounds crazy for people to hear because they think about gun violence and gun problems and gun this and gun that. But that's the reality of the world that we live in, is that tyranny is possible and it exists other places and it's slowly existing. It's slowly rearing its head in the UK. You're seeing, I think the number of people that have been arrested for just social media posts is bananas. It's in the thousands.
Yes, several thousand people have been given prison sentences in the UK for social media posts where there was no explicit link to actual violence, but they just said it encouraged violence. I'm like, well, did anyone actually do anything as a result of that media post? Well, no. But they're just, and then they have a prison overcrowding situation in the UK, so they're quite literally releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. That's an actual thing happening in Britain. Like you're like,
it's so wild that people can't see.
Is going on.
And what's insane to me
Make
is
Orwell fiction again.
Yeah. But it's all being encouraged by the left. Ketanji Brown Jackson, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton.
John Kerry was one of the people who said that on camera like a few weeks ago, saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle to fighting misinformation.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's such a crazy thing to say when you have a solution in community notes.
Yes,
you have a solution in something like that. That could clear everything up, any confusion within a day or two.
And even without a community note, you can reply to a post and with evidence that shows that the post is wrong. You don't even need community notes. I mean, community notes is helpful because it sticks to the original note.
Yes.
But in the replies, you can say, here's why you're wrong, here are the reasons, and here's the evidence.
But the argument is that people are too unsophisticated, that they're not going to research these things. They're going to be a victim of misinformation. So they're going to read something that's incorrect. They're going to run with it. People are going to die. We're going to ruin the world because people believed in misinformation. It's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument.
Because it's an argument that they're too dumb to know what's right or wrong. Well, if you know, because you're saying it's misinformation, why do you think that you're smarter than everybody who reads that?
Exactly. And obviously anyone on the X system knows that things are posted and then there are replies and there are rebuttals and it's immediately corrected. But where are the corrections for the legacy media?
Right.
If some broadcast media, they say false things all the time, but it's a one-way street. There's no rebuttal. There's no counter.
Right.
Right.
Who's apologized for being incorrect about what? Did Rachel Maddow ever apologize for telling everybody that if you get the COVID vaccine, you're never going to get COVID? It won't. The virus stops with you.
No, never.
Never. Yeah. No one ever. It's just. It was not true at the time. There was no evidence to support it at the time. It's pure propaganda. And she said it. The RussiaGate hoax. For 3 years, they said that he was Putin's toy.
Yes.
And that Putin had him compromised. The Steele dossier.
Steele dossier was completely fabricated by a lawyer at Perkins Coie, who was paid by the Clinton campaign. Literally.
Crazy.
And still people think the Russia hoax is real.
And there's no repercussions.
Yes.
No one had to apologize. Hillary Clinton never came out and apologized for that, and people still listen to her. The whole thing is crazy. Yeah. And it's all coming from the left, which growing up as a person who was in the left my whole life, it doesn't make any sense.
Same. I was on the left until 3 years ago.
It's not the left anymore.
It's not the left anymore. Yeah. It's just, I think we obviously I believe we want freedom. We want to maximize personal liberty. I think we want to be kind to people. We want to have empathy, but it's very important to have personal freedom and a merit-based society. And the left wants to oppress your freedoms, especially freedom of speech, and they want to have a non-merit-based society, with race-based and sex-based preferences. And it's, well, wait a second. No, we just want people to succeed based on their skills and their hard work.
And if they don't want people to express themselves about particular issues, then they're not doing the will of the people. And if they're trying to suppress people's ability to communicate, they're only doing that because they want to do things that people don't want them to do.
Yes.
And they want to silence opposition. That's all it is. And the
100%.
fact that people can't see that and they want to call Trump a fascist, the whole thing is just through the looking glass. It's just.
I mean, it's one hoax after another that they're perpetrating against Trump. If they try to call the rally at Madison Square Garden like a Nazi rally, I'm like, yo, there was like literally an Israeli flag in the audience. I think a quarter of the speakers were Jewish. There were people of every race, color, creed, religion at that rally. Tell me what about that is Nazi? And yet it was portrayed as a Nazi rally.
Well, MSNBC, they literally showed video of the Nazi rally from the 1930s and then compared it to the Trump rally. Now, ignoring the fact that Jimmy Carter spoke there.
There have been dozens of political rallies at Madison Square Gardens, dozens on the Democrat side. People on X were like, and here's Jimmy Carter, and here's Bill Clinton, and here's wait a second. Actually, it looks like every presidential candidate has done on the Democrat side has done a rally at Madison Square Gardens. Are they Nazis too?
But what they're doing is they're preying on low information voters who aren't engaged actively on social media, who don't have the time to look through everything. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
People are living. If people are just on looking at legacy mainstream media, then they have a totally different worldview than if they're on X and seeing the actual flow of argument.
Yes.
And the actual evidence.
Well, what was the pushback? What happened when you guys released the Twitter files? Because I think the Twitter files is probably one of the most important things in this age of information for understanding the influence that government has on social media and on discourse. Because when we found out that that was the case, that the government was actually asking Twitter to remove posts that were factual,
all the time.
They did the same thing to Facebook. They had them throttle pieces of one of Tucker Carlson's show. They suppressed the views by 50% of factual information.
Yeah, no, there was massive government interference in Twitter, but Twitter welcomed it. That's important. All Twitter welcomed it. I mean, all Twitter was controlled by far left activists. They welcomed the government interference. They got paid by the government for it.
That's crazy. They got paid for their time, correct?
Yeah, they got paid millions of dollars for suppressing information.
So it's like build time.
And a bunch of it was like flat out illegal. The FBI had this sort of magic portal into the Twitter system, but all of the communication in that in this portal was auto deleted after 2 weeks, which breaks federal FOIA laws. So we don't even know what was said because it was all deleted after 2 weeks.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. It's so crazy that people thought that was okay.
It's super not okay.
No, it's super not okay. It's unconstitutional, and no one would want that. No one would want the government to have that kind of access.
Exactly.